What's up, my comic comrades? Today we finally reached the conclusion of James Tynion's run on Batman with issues 116 and 117. In these final two parts of his Fear State storyline, Batman goes up against Scarecrow, the Magistrate, and the Unsanity Collective. I've personally been digging the story thus far and very excited to share with you guys how it wraps up. So let's see how Tynion finishes out his run on Batman before handing it over to Josh Williamson, the new and current Batman writer. If you guys want or need a recap of everything that's happened in this storyline, just check out our past videos covering them right here. But with that said, let's see how things wrap up. Issue 116 starts off where 115 left off, with the Magistrate soldiers and drones infiltrating Eden, which is Ivy's new home beneath Gotham. But they're quickly met and attacked by Ghostmaker. And while he's fighting off the Magistrate, Queen Ivy says, "This is what always happens, Wise. They never leave me alone. They have to come and take what little space I made for myself. There will never be paradise in Gotham until it is razed to the ground." Mr. Wise replies, "Please, Ivy, there are millions of innocent people up there." But she just screams, "I've had enough," as she releases her vines up into Gotham City, ready to take down Gotham. Meanwhile, we see Batman and Miracle Molly running in the sewers trying to find the mind machine that Scarecrow stole in order to dismantle it before he could set off his fear bomb on the city. But as they're running through the sewers, everything starts shaking and Molly thinks it's an earthquake. But Batman says, "Ghostmaker told me that Ivy's vines were wrapped up in the bedrock of the city. The Magistrate is desperate for a win, but if they've gone after her, she could collapse Gotham into the cave system beneath the city." Batman then tells Molly, "We're running out of time," as Scarecrow speaks up from behind the corner saying, "No, Batman, I think you'll find your time is up." Batman tells Scarecrow, "I already deprogrammed myself from your brainwashing. Your little toy won't work on me." Scarecrow says, "I figured as much, but the Unsanity Collective, their technology was built from the same Hatter tech as mine, which makes them uniquely susceptible to my programming," as he hacks Miracle Molly's brain, torturing her. Batman, of course, says, "Leave her alone, damn it. Crane, let her go." But Scarecrow goes off on a monologue saying, "Follow me and bring her with you. The Unsanity Collective's ideology is backwards, Batman. You must see it. Look how unfit they are to deal with true unaltered fear without a lifetime of suffering." He then shows them Peacekeeper 01, aka Sean Mahoney, who he's currently rewriting his brain with fear, telling Batman he will be the perfect leader to guide himself from this fear state to a future state of Gotham, which, as we all know, the future state, or the possible future, is the future DC event that we got last year. Anyway, Batman tries to stop Scarecrow from evolving/rewriting Mahoney's brain by throwing batarangs at him, which causes his mask to fall off. But Scarecrow was able to hold onto his device saying, "Oh, Batman, I'll admit, I forgot how fun this is, keeping you outfoxed. I try to stay above the fray when I talk to my Arkham compatriots, but I can't lie, it's a fun game." All while Miracle Molly is screaming saying, "I haven't felt anything like this since before. I want it to end. Please, Batman." And Batman's all like, "Let her go, Scarecrow." But he says, "No, Batman, she needs to learn. And so do you. Fear is stronger." But before he finishes his sentence, a gunshot goes off on the next page as we see someone shot Scarecrow through the back. As he collapses to the ground, we see it's Mahoney, who sits up saying, "Figured it was about time he shut up." As the Scarecrow collapses, he drops the trigger that was controlling Miracle Molly's brain. So Batman picks it up and turns it off. Molly then says, "Oh, thank God, I couldn't think. That was horrible." Batman then tells Mahoney, "I hope after experiencing all of that, you see how Crane and Saint were using you." He replies, "I see a lot of things now, Batman. I see where Crane's madness and Saint's ego blinded them to what the city actually needs, what the Magistrate could have become. Saint thought the Magistrate could be a force for good, because he thought order was good. But order isn't about good or bad. It's about power." Mahoney then puts on a Peacekeeper 01 helmet from a fallen soldier while saying, "I could be the hero Gotham needs me to be, because I could see how to bring order through fear. Hell, maybe when I kill Saint and take control of his operation, I'll keep the Scarecrow on retainer, with a short leash. If he survived the shot at least. The city is shuddering awake. It's ready for change. It's ready for a new face of justice. Batman isn't enough to save Gotham City, but I am. I could see that now. Clearly." We then get another full page of Batman ready to square off against Mahoney, as Mahoney continues to say, "Look at you. You're a kid in a Halloween costume. You're no better than Scarecrow or any of these other freaks you've let ruin the city. Do you think you could scare me?" We then get a double-page spread of Batman and Mahoney charging at each other, with Batman replying, "Yeah, I do." Meanwhile, Miracle Molly is trying to disarm the fear bomb, but says, "I have no clue where the original machine ends and Crane's modifications begin. If he were still alive," as we see Scarecrow is indeed alive, coughing up blood. Miracle Molly then hears this and says, "Yeah, okay, I could work with that." All the while, Batman and Mahoney are having an epic fight. The comic then takes us back to Eden, where Mr. Wise says, "Queen Ivy, please, you don't have to make this worse." She then grabs Wise with her vine saying, "I won't listen to men like you ever again." Harley then says, "Yeah, well maybe you'll listen to me." Ivy turns around saying, "Harley?" And then on the next page we see Harley saying, Or I guess I should say, maybe you'll listen to yourself, as she points to another poison ivy. And with that, the issue ends. But we're not done yet, friends. We've got one more issue to recap, so let's jump into issue 17. Issue 17 starts off with Simon Saint saying, "I don't understand. I've spent so much money. Why isn't this working? It's just a man in a suit. Why can't they kill him?" He continues to yell at his employees saying, "The communications infrastructure in the skybase costs $40 billion, for God's sake. There's no way the signal went dead. Why are you all so incompetent?" An employee then says, "Mr. Saint, Mayor Nakano is on the phone. He's angry." Saint replies, "I don't have time for a two-bit politician." Another employee says, "That's not all. There's been another earthquake and some buildings are starting to collapse in the Narrows." Saint then yells, "Get me back in communication with my men. We need to arrest somebody, and we need to do it now." But after he finishes saying that, he hears a thump on the door, and on the next page, we see the Bat family open the doors wearing Peacekeeper armor as Nightwing says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the skybase is about to have a water landing in the Gotham Bay. If you would please make your way to the flotation devices, we're here to make sure you all make it safely to the police who are waiting to arrest you below." Now, I'd hold on to something. It's gonna be a rocky landing. The comic then brings us to the sewers where we see Batman continuing to fight Sean Mahoney. All the while, Miracle Molly is trying to disarm Krame's fear bomb as he's talking in her ear saying, "It's in your hands now, isn't it? You get to decide what happens. Does Gotham stay the way it's always been, or does it change right here and now? Your Insanity Collective is wrong about some things, but at least you know that we can't just keep pushing forward the way things are." She then punches him in the arm saying, "You're distracting me trying to run the clock out." At which point she finally hacks into the system with it saying, "Core systems access. Disarm now?" Molly pauses contemplating if she should disarm it or not. We then get another epically drawn two-page spread of Batman and Mahoney still beating the crap out of one another. Meanwhile, in Eden, Ivy asks Harley, "What is this? What's happening?" Harley explains, "Way back before you died, right before the last time you attacked Gotham, Gardner saw that you might not survive. So she took the most precious innocent part of you and put it in a seed and planted it safely away. Some bad guys got to it first and grew it into an ivy of their own, but Catwoman saved her. And then we found her and brought her back to you. She's got all of your innocence, the part of you that still sees the best in people. The part of you I could see is missing. She's great." This innocent Ivy then says, "I don't want to be a missing piece anymore. I would like to be whole." Harley then looks at Queen Ivy saying, "Please, Pammy." Ivy then asks Bella, "You did all this?" She replies, "I couldn't let the best part of you die, Pamela." At which point Ivy says, "Very well, let's see. Give me your hand," as she absorbs the missing part of herself. Ivy then says, "I could feel my roots stretching out through Gotham. I could still tear it all down, if that's how I felt. And you all know the city might deserve it, but the people up there, they're shaking with fear. It's overwhelming. I could do something else with my reach. I could lower the temperature a bit. I could calm things down. Use my pheromones so they aren't quite so afraid anymore," which she does, calming down the scared civilians of Gotham. Ivy then goes over to the Unsanity Collective's child and says, "There's still so much power in me. If I stay like this, I don't know how long I could hold my mind together. But if I let some of the power go, I could save the life of the child," which she does. Ivy then points at Harley and uses her vines to pull her over while saying, "There's one more thing I need to do." Harley says, "Oh boy, Pammy, I know this is a lot to process and you don't like when I get all metally, but I'm trying to be a good guy and save the city and junk." Ivy then pulls her in close saying, "Harvey, stop talking." Then back in the sewer, you guessed it, Batman and Mahoney are still battling. Then while taking off his utility belt and wrapping it around his forearm and knuckles like an MMA fighter, Batman says, "You don't get your future, neither does Scarecrow. You'll be persecuted for murder, for corruption, for domestic terrorism. You won't be a hero. You'll spend the rest of your life behind bars." Mahoney then charges at him saying, "That's a nice bedtime story, Batman, but you don't believe it." As Batman jumps in the air, he says, "Heroes save other people. You've only ever wanted to save yourself, and that's why you were always going to lose." As he gives Mahoney a massive right hook to the face with his utility belt wrapped around his fist, which I gotta say is something I've never seen Batman do before, and it's pretty badass. Anyway, with Mahoney finally taken out by Batman, he says, "Miracle Molly, have you disarmed the bomb?" She answers, "Not quite," while holding the trigger in her hand. She says, "I rewired Scarecrow's fear bomb. It's back to its original programming from when it was the Mind Machine. Now I'm going to set it off and wipe away all of Gotham City's trauma. Take away its memories of all of this, so people can actually start over." Batman replies, "I know why you think that's so. I know it's more work believing that people can change on their own, that they can make the decision to be better." She replies, "Gotham City is in chaos, Batman. It's tearing itself apart. This would end it in an instant." He then says, "I want to give you the uplink to my cowl. I want you to see everything I'm seeing right now." She says, "If this is a trick, if you try to hack me, my computers will take down yours." He assures her it's not, And once she puts the uplink in, she sees what's going on in Gotham City above them right now, with news reports of Simon Saint being arrested and Mayor Nakano admitting he was wrong for hiring Saint and the Magistrate, and Gotham calming down with the help of Poison Ivy. News reports also say, and finally, we have reports and footage coming in from every corner of Gotham City. A familiar light is shining high above Gotham for the first time since before the Joker War, and with it a familiar feeling of hope, as we see the Bat family stare at the bat signal in the Gotham sky. The news reports continue to say, I think all of us in Gotham know who we could thank for bringing the fear state to an end, as we get a group shot of the Bat family. Back in the sewer, Batman takes off his cowl, telling Molly, that night in your workshop, we talked about how the city is a superstitious and cowardly lot, how that makes them dangerous, but it also makes them human, and they are all capable of doing good. The human capacity for good is incredibly powerful. I believe when you take away the politicians and the media and the corporations, and it's just people together, they can overcome their fears. They can overcome anything. Molly answers, I don't know, Batman, I'm not sure you're right. He replies, I'm not sure I'm right either. There's not much in this world I am sure of, but I do believe. And with that, she puts the mind machine trigger down, saying, I want to believe too, as she grabs and hugs Batman, with him saying, it's all right, everything's going to be all right. As we get a shot of a sunflower growing out of the sewer, symbolizing new life and a new start. And with that, the comic in the fear state comes to an end. There you have it, friends, the conclusion to the Fear State storyline. I really think Tynion stuck the landing on this, especially the message that deep down people are good and they want to be good. It's just that there's so much noise that distracts them from that sometimes. But if we could just get past that, we could see that we all have a lot more in common than we think and get along with one another much better. I'm definitely a sap for that sentiment. There's more good in the world than evil, and people are good and want to be good. It's one of the main themes of my own comic series, Astonishing Times. So again, I really dug how Tynion wrapped up his final story arc on Batman. It's a sentiment and message I think is needed now more than ever. So good on you and the entire creative team. But as always, that's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments. And that's gonna bring today's episode of Rant to a close. But if you like today's video, check out this Batman video right here. And if you like all of our content, subscribe, like, and comment. You know the deal. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.